Yo, part two, Vega build. Right now, just swapping the oil pump in the LS1. I got the engine bay cleaned up and ready to get painted. Here in after I do the oil pump, I'll show you guys what issue we were having in part one. We had the wrong transmission crossmember. I learned something about the 4L60 that hopefully helps you out, as I wish I would have known beforehand, but oh well. That's why I'm doing this for you, so you ain't got to deal with it like I do. So, pulled the water pump off, pulled the pulley off, and this is the first time I messed with an LS1. I sat here for about 45 minutes. No, probably not, probably like 30. Close enough. Was trying to take the pulley off, couldn't, and then realized that I could just unscrew those two bolts because they had room from the pulley, and took 30 minutes to try and get that off, and took 45 seconds to just undo the bolts and pull it off. So we'll act like that didn't happen, and we'll act like I knew that from the beginning. I am replacing the oil pump and the front timing cover. You guys are gonna, you professional ASC certified mechanics are gonna hate me because I'm reusing this bolt. I reuse them all the time, every time I do this, and I've had no issues. So, and I'm also not gonna torque these bolts like you professionals are gonna tell me I should, because I've never done it before, never will. I've seen them break when being torqued, and that ain't happening to me, so I'll never torque those. But let's get to that. So first, we're gonna pull the crank pulley off. Can you even see me? Am I even in the frame? All right, as good as it can get. Take the crank bolt out. We're gonna use this style puller that has these three little jaws. I don't know what you call them. This is actually, if you can rent these at O'Reilly's. They're Chrysler crank pullers at O'Reilly's or AutoZone. This one is from Amazon, if you can see it. But basically, you just type in LS crank pulley puller on Amazon, and this will come up. And then this is all you need to put the crank pulley right back on. I've used this quite a few times now, but you'll obviously watch me use it. So let's fully charged. Well, that didn't work. Cut away to try and use my brand new breaker bar, and nope. That's my fault for getting a 3/8 inch and not a 1/2 inch breaker bar. But that's what I'm gonna have to go get. I think I got this from Harbor Freight. I don't remember, but I gotta go get a 1/2 inch, and because I don't have any fire to put to that bad boy, and this snap-on tool is usually strong enough, but that bad boy's in there. So either I gotta move on to something else, which I would have preferred not to, or I'm gonna have to be done for the day, go get a 1/2 inch, and hope that doesn't break. Maybe get a fire thingy too to loosen that bad boy up. But we will see. Oh, while I'm here, well, while I got the time now, actually, let me show you where we messed up on the transmission mount or cross member for the Vega. So this is oh my goodness, this is obviously an LS 4L60. There's pre-LS 4L60, which you can, the easiest way to tell is they won't have this top bolt hole. And then there's other minor things, but this is something I didn't know that I learned. So this is a 6-bolt case on the end, cone. I just call it a cone. I'm sure I know there's a technical word for it, but I haven't eaten yet today, so I'm not gonna try and figure it out. This is 6-bolt. The pre-LS is 4-bolt. So the 6-bolt mount down here sits farther back than the 4-bolt cone does, is where it sits forward that way. So that's why we had the issue with the transmission crossmember, where the mount was on those middle bars, if you remember from the first video, was way up here. And that's because that crossmember was for a pre-4L60 and a 700R4. So I just shipped that back yesterday, and they're gonna send the correct one, and then it'll be able to bolt in. So this is why I'm here doing all this, so I can have it all ready to just bolt right in whenever it gets here, which will probably be a week, 2 weeks, I have no idea. We'll find out. But I guess I should go eat before I start kicking and punching things. But I need to let that dry a little more just to make sure it's 100% dry, and I'll spray that bad boy down. But as of now, I'm at a standstill until I can get that bolt out. So I'll see you in a second. All right, I don't know where I left off. I was probably beginning to pull off the oil pump or pull off the crank pulley. I don't remember. But oil pump is on, oil pan's back on. That took way longer than it should have. It was fighting me. I also put the oil pan on and forgot to put my silicone on the corners. So I had to pull it all back off, put the silicone on, put it all back on. And then some of these holes were fighting me where the gasket hole was. It wasn't lined up 100%. And it's time to be done. It's time to clean up my mess. Tomorrow I'll probably clean the engine block and stuff off, or clean the whole engine, put the crank pulley back on, mount it up to the transmission, and then I'll be able to throw the intake on. Well, no, can't throw the intake on it until I get the transmission crossmember and have that bolted in, so that I can bolt this in and then take this off of it, so I don't have to use the cherry picker anymore. But next I can do fuel tank, and that's really it until I get the transmission crossmember back. But I'll see you tomorrow. All right, so I'm back, but you've been here. It's been a couple days for me. It was basically been since like Thursday or Friday. Yesterday night-ish, I got the engine bay painted. Didn't paint over the rust like I typically would, because I got a assumption that that's gonna get cut out and replaced anyways. So didn't waste any paint on that, but doesn't look bad. Just typical rattle can. I use engine paint, semi-gloss. So that's done, and then I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to pull this top plate off on each side. So there's 2 plates stacked. This plate is just too thick for the mounts for the bolts to go all the way through and thread in, because this plate has a little bit of thickness. And then you add that top plate thickness, and this just isn't long enough to go through both with the washer. They barely touch the very first thread. I just need to, before I do that, I'm going to make sure that the double stacked plates, it's not supposed to be like that, or it'll cause issues if I take them off. So I'm not doing that yet, but since I got that painted, that still needs to get cleaned up. That's just going to get a good pressure wash. It's aluminum, so shouldn't take much. But right now, I'm just doing the fuel tank, putting the fuel pump in. I've actually never messed with one of these aftermarket style fuel tanks. Well, I guess I did, because that's what the truck has in it. So in the video, you see me messing with that, but all I did was pull it out and put it in the new tank. But it comes with instructions. So I'm just gonna get that done real quick. This is a 69 or 67 through 69 Camaro gas tank. If you go this route, I would just get a stock style 67 through 69 gas tank and put in the typical Holley retrofit fuel pump. That way it's just a simple drop in. That's it. To where you don't have to do this, but it's not like this is hard. It just takes a little longer. That Holley retro pump literally just drops in like the regular regulator would, or the regular sending unit would, and then that's it. And then you just wire it to the fuel relay on the harness. But he went with this one, so this is what I'm going to be putting in. So I'll see you when it's in. So fuel pump's done. Just gonna wire it up to obviously work whenever I put it in the car. This fuel pump is unregulated, so using a Corvette filter regulator, using PTFE. Well, sorry, not getting there yet. This filter from Amazon comes with the fittings. This vent breather, which will run from here to somewhere above the tank, because that's how you're supposed to run it. You don't want it below the tank. You don't want it even with the tank. You don't want it laying down like this. You want it up above the tank, which is going to be interesting because the tank is just going in the back. So it's going to smell like gas fumes, but you can't mount it under the car until he has his buddy, the fab guy, cut out the whole the truck floor pan and put in the Camaro floor pan, and then this will bolt up under it just like a Camaro. And you can use either this vent line tube or this one. I'm going to use this one since it's directly with the pump, and just cap this one. They recommend you don't fill up the whole gas tank. It was in the instructions. I don't know why. I mean, I know why, because it says it in the instructions, but I mean, how many people, when they fill up, say, oh, I got to make sure it's only 3/4 of the way. So that's interesting. But anyways, so yeah, this is all ready to go in. I got the PTFE fuel line with all the adapters or connectors, and then just hook up to the fuel rail, and that's it. So we'll see what's next. I gotta research more about those plates and then go from there, and I gotta clean the engine up. So So I'm back. It has been a day or two, I think 2 days, maybe 3 days, since I last touched the car. You guys like my little showing y'all how I put the car in and out of the garage? Well, back in the garage. It's how I do every non-running vehicle. I figured since I don't give you guys any action shots, I'd give you an action shot. But anyways, I am going to put in as much of the fuel system as I can. Let me show you where I'm working with. So he got this aftermarket tank for a 69 Camaro. That's a floor pan, rear trunk pan for a 69 Camaro. I'm not putting that in, so I got to figure out how I'm just going to have this fuel tank sitting in here and plumbed so that it runs. Because I got to get the engine running, at least. That's part of the whole swap. So I'm trying to figure out how I can set it in there level without it moving around, sliding around. So I'm actually going to save that part for last. And what I'm going to do now is at least put in the regulator and the fuel lines. That way I have the fuel lines ran up into the trunk and right here for the engine, and then I can just figure out where that's going to sit. But it's pretty simple as far as plumbing a fuel system. I just made a video about it and posted it on how to do a basic LS swap fuel system. Super easy, not as confusing as you would assume if you haven't done one before. But I'm gonna get started on that and then bring you guys back whenever I got it in. All right, so about an hour later, I got the lines done. I got the regulator put right there, and I got the send line done. I got the return and send line done. I'm saying done because this is how it's going to be when it leaves, since obviously the gas tank isn't going to be mounted back here. They're cutting out the whole trunk floor, like I said. I think they're even cutting out the back of the floor pan. So I made these lines longer in case they put the regulator farther that way or somewhere else. So they got more lines and hopefully don't have to make more lines. And then I got underneath, I got it routed with the brake line. So I got it running with the brake line. I didn't waste too many zip ties going crazy tightening up to the brake line, because they're going to be removing this brake line anyways. So I just routed it, and then I got it going up through that hole right there into the engine bay, just like the brake line. And that is where I will connect it to the engine. So it's coming up in here. I'm gonna have to go really tight or something like that to the body. I'll zip tie it to that brake line too, make it tighten, because the header is going to sit right about here or something like that. So I want to run that tighter to the body. Maybe I can put it through that hole. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. But we'll see. So that's done to an extent. Well, at least the regulator and the lines are done. I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna set up this fuel tank. So this is leftover metal that he brought when I was doing the lower core support. It just sits down, so that might be okay. I just obviously, so for looking straight, I would prefer it sit up like that, but I gotta figure out something under there. Well, I mean, do it this bad boy. I mean, I'm not using this, but if he wants me to go buy one, we can use some wheel chalks like that. Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. Yeah, that might not work, but work at the same time. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure that out next. I'll probably wait until I wire this up and get it running. I'll probably just throw some fuel in there. I don't know. But yeah. And there's the regular. Oh, I chose to go right there because, as I've said 3 times already, they're cutting all this out. They're completely redoing all this suspension. I have no idea what this is going to look like. So obviously I wasn't going to mount it somewhere back there, where I typically would, because it's up out of the way. Because these unibody cars, the floor pan and the bottom of like the rockers there's like that much room, so you can't mount it up there or under the floor pan, because if you hit a bump or something and bottom out, it's just gonna break it off. So I'd usually mount it up here in this axle area, but I have no idea what that's gonna look like when they do the whole coilover setup and they cut out the trunk pan and put the Camaro trunk pan in and blah blah. So I put it there because they can just remove it, unhook it, get it out of the way, do their thing, and then probably put it in the same area that I just talked about. But I have no idea. So this is how I got to do it. Hopefully I made it a little bit easier for them, as I would hope somebody would do for me. So that is it for today. I actually got to go look at a Trans Am here in a second. The dude finally got to me on Marketplace, but maybe you'll see that the next time. Well, in a split second whenever I continue this video. But I'll probably see y'all tomorrow for me, but split second for y'all. So it's the next day, and I was thinking about it mostly yesterday when I finished, and I think I'm just gonna have this be part 2 of the Vega build, and part 3 will be the finished product. I'm waiting on that transmission crossmember mount, and I don't think it's gonna get to me till next week. So there's really no point in dragging out this video any longer than it needs to be. You see what I'm working with, what I've done so far. Next video will just be a cleaner engine transmission bolted in, and I mean running. Nothing much more different than what you see here, except you'll see a complete engine, wiring harness, headers on, and however I figure out mounting the gas tank in there so that it at least sits level. But that's gonna be interesting, because really I just need to mount it to where it sits level, because he's gonna get this on a rollback truck, I'm assuming, and get it taken to the fab shop that's getting all the suspension and brakes and whatnot done to it. So yeah, no point in waiting probably 4 or 5 more days just to add 3 minutes to the video of bolting in the engine and transmission. But appreciate you if you watched. Hopefully you're subscribed, like the video, share the video. I know they're not the most interesting videos, like I've said before. Follow me on the links down, not links, but the social things down low in the description. That's it. I will see y'all next video, and next video it's got to be running because I ain't got no other option. So I'll see y'all then.